Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of the Mr. Movies podcast. Finally, did you ever think this day would come?
Honestly, yes. I didn't know it would
Did
happen
you?
like this. Ever since the hashtag took off, I was like, that many people, you know?
So here's the thing. Um, so we have a bunch of we have a pre-message we want to start before we get into the show, but there's one more thing I want to pre-say real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So the Suicide Squad. I'm actually wearing a Suicide Squad shirt right now.
I did notice that.
So David Ayer kind of had a similar situation where he got to shoot his movie,
Uh-huh.
and then Warner Brothers trashed it. No, because this kind of relates to the Snyder cut. So if you think about it, there was probably a lot less. It probably would have been easier to release David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad than it would be to release Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, they just came out and said there's no possibility that would ever happen.
Right.
Because like Zack Snyder's Justice League is a 4-hour movie. I think Suicide Squad at most is probably around the similar runtime that the theatrical version was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can talk about studio interference because like every movie has studio interference, right?
Yeah.
Like, did you see this morning that like the Russo brothers just said they have a 6-hour cut of Endgame sitting around that they could re-release?
I did not hear that, but I would be interested in that because I feel like Endgame, especially that movie, like one of my issues with it was I was so looking forward to the Captain America and Iron Man having to work around the fact that, Civil War happened.
Right.
And like in the movie, it just jumps 5 years and they shake hands and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was a little disappointed by that, but I mean, I get it. It's a fast-paced movie.
Right. But for now, let's talk about the main entree.
The main entree, the big course,
mm-hmm.
the dessert to Zack Snyder's trilogy.
Right.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we want to preface this in saying events surrounding this film, and if you don't know it, look it up. We're not going to get into it because we want to talk about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad and tragic. And so usually with our reviews, we talk about stuff we like, stuff that just didn't work for us. And, every movie's going to have stuff, at least one thing that didn't work for us. And we get that. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube that talk about stuff that didn't work that, yeah, we can agree with. But I just feel like because of everything surrounding this film, Duncan and I kind of talked beforehand and we're like, not that we don't want to, we're not in the mood really to say anything negative about the film.
Right.
Just because the fact that it exists is a triumph in itself, basically. And like, why put negative energy out there if nothing good is going to come from? I think Wonder Woman has a line in the movie that something says nothing good comes from evil or something like that. Maybe that was one of the past Wonder Woman movies. She's definitely said that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that like media exists to be critiqued, but also like you said, the circumstances surrounding this were just so, I mean, it was just one tragic mess after another, like I wouldn't feel right to just sit down and be like, the aspect ratio is bad,
Okay,
like,
I love the aspect ratio, and we're gonna get into
yeah, that's we can talk about. Have you seen The Lighthouse?
I have not, but I want to.
That film also does that. And what usually I don't like movies that have that thin, I think it's like 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Usually I'm just like, well, where's the other 2/3 of my movie? But in these cases, I think it really focuses in on everything you can see, and it makes that square of footage pop more. So
Do you know the technical reason why it's like that?
It's for IMAX, I believe.
Yeah, so it was basically, this is just to reiterate for people who don't know. Basically, it's like that because when you see a movie in IMAX, that's what it looks like, and he shot the whole movie like that. So rather than cropping the image, you're getting the full image. And it technically there'd be more black bars if he had done like a regular like how most movies are shot. I can't think of the
Yeah.
number now, but I thought this movie's gorgeous right off the bat. Every shot of this film I would hang on my wall. Like it's just
Wow.
gorgeous. Oh God, if you listen, you know I love me some Zack Snyder, and this movie is just the most Zachary Snydery that could. And I love it. That man is one of the reasons, like he's one of my biggest inspirations for being in film school and stuff, and just like his approach to filmmaking is just so unique. And the biggest praise I can give this film is that it's a big studio comic book movie that feels like it was made by an individual. Like it doesn't feel like some big group project that was just slapped together. It feels like a man sat down and said, "This is my movie. This is my vision. I'm going to make it 100% how I want."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think right. If you're making a director's cut, then
I feel like this isn't even a director's cut. It's
called
like
Zack
it's so
Snyder's
crazy.
Justice League, right?
Yeah.
The reins have been completely handed over to him. So you're right. This is a celebration of like what one man can do with so much.
And like you got to appreciate, like this man did not get paid to come back and finish the film. He did it because he wanted to. And like I'm kind of curious now because he came out this morning and said that Warner Brothers did not want him filming any additional scenes, but he did anyway. So like that makes me question, like, did he pay to get the scene done himself? Did he like rent the equipment and like do it? Like, I don't know. Cause like if the studio didn't want him to do it, they're not going to give him the money. So I don't know the story there. I'm interested.
I had heard that he was given an additional 70 million to finish it. So maybe
that was to finish up visual effects and stuff though.
Right. But maybe he could have used some of that to
maybe. Yeah.
I don't know how much.
I respect the man. I respect the hustle.
So you know more about this movie than I do.
So because I'm a man of the people, Duncan, and I wanted this to be the best podcast on Zack Snyder's Justice League that it could be. In preparation, I watched Justice League 3 times. Okay?
The new one?
Hear me out. Hear me out. I watched one time and the last time the Whedon cut. And then I've watched the 4-hour cut twice. So that's like 10 hours of Justice League this week.
Oh my God. Are you
I knew I was going to watch the Whedon cut before the new one came out. Because I said, once I watch Zach's, I know I'm never going to want to watch the Whedon cut again.
Once you go Zach, you never go back.
Once you go Zach, you never go back.
Okay, so
I'm going to tweet that. I love that.
Okay, sure. Just don't credit me. So I hate to admit it, but I don't know all of the differences between the two. I also haven't seen the original in like 2 years since we watched it in that college.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So tell me what
I have to, because I'm not trying to hide anything, okay? When the Whedon cut came out, I straight up said, I said the visual effects are bad, but I thought it was a really fun movie, and I saw it, I think, 3 times in the theater. I was also just excited to have a Justice League movie.
Of course. Right? Take what you can get.
And seeing this is nuts. Just the amount of stuff, Cyborg specifically. I think Cyborg really got I get why Ray Fisher was very upset with the theatrical cut, and then after hearing about everything that happened on set, but we're not going to get fully into that. Maybe we'll dance into it a little, but
right.
I mean, I was watching it, and I think there's only the scene where they're on the rooftop with Commissioner Gordon. I think that's the only scene from Justice League that is the same. Everything else with Cyborg was reshot with little bits and pieces here and there, but everything was reshot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, having seen both versions and like having them loosely in my head, Cyborg played such an important role in
Yeah. The
this.
one thing that surprised me, and I remember because Zack Snyder says he's never seen the theatrical cut of it.
Right.
When he released the trailer, and this is a bit of a spoiler, we're gonna get full spoiler. So if you haven't seen it, please leave. Or stay if you don't care, but no, leave because you should watch this movie. It's really good.
Right.
In the trailer, they showed Cyborg's dad dying.
Yeah, I remember that.
That wasn't in the theatrical cut. So I wonder if I don't even think Zack Snyder realizes how much was changed. So I don't think he would have showed that if people hadn't already seen it. I think he just assumed people had seen it.
Yeah, I
Oh
will.
God, can I just complain too? No, I'm sorry. Finish your thought. Finish your thought. Then we're gonna get into it.
Well, I was gonna say, I know we said we didn't want to talk about anything negative, but right, like that trailer does show his dad half vaporizing. So
Yeah,
when I watched this movie, I was like, I kind of know where this is going.
yeah. So I wonder if, because I feel like that first trailer he put out was really just to show, hey, I have this whole other different movie you've never seen.
It probably was.
Um, I don't think he realized maybe that character lived in the version we saw, but I really like the character of the dad. I thought it worked. And you know what? You know what I'm most happy about that isn't in this version?
What's that?
The Russian family.
Yeah, we didn't need him.
Yeah. Also, some of Joss Whedon's quote unquote humor. Ooh, I thought the Snyder cut was actually funnier. Genuinely had better jokes.
The humor was different, like it was more subtle, and I like.
Yeah. They didn't pause and like wait for you to laugh. That's what I feel what
Yeah,
the Joss cut
like
did.
Marvel style, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it works good for Marvel. I think Marvel's really, and Zack Snyder said this too. He says, I'm never gonna try to make a Marvel movie because with DC, because Marvel has it down perfect. So why would you try to copy it? And it's kind of crazy he said that because you watch the theatrical version, and that's what they tried to do. They tried to make a Marvel movie and
that's
it
what Joss did.
blew up in their faces.
Did they hire Joss Whedon as like a fuck you to Marvel?
I don't know what happened. So I don't want to get fully into it, but apparently Ray Fisher said, well, on set, he would compare a lot Wonder Woman to Black Widow, and
Oh,
he would, oh God, what did I just blanked for half a second. I forgot where my thoughts were going. Um,
it's probably something gross.
oh, he mentioned like he was upset that the reception to Age of Ultron wasn't great, so he was gonna use this movie to put himself like back up there. And
Oh, that's not good. He was
yeah,
using Justice League as a career move.
I don't think he was. And there's a lot of stuff that's come out too where he made fun of Zach's cut and was mocking it. And it's like it's the same crew member, so everyone who worked on that movie was working on the reshoots, and it's like ugh, I don't know. I hope we don't hear from Joss for a while.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve to work in this town ever again.
I usually stay away from bashing creators and stuff on this podcast because like if someone put effort into a movie, even if I don't like it, I feel bad bashing it.
Yeah,
Because I know
yeah, of course.
I make short films, so I don't even I know a fraction of the work that goes into it. So I never want to bash anyone, but Joss Whedon can be my
I can make an
exception.
exception, I think, for Joss Whedon.
Do you think it was bad that because I thought the Whedon cut was fine. I said before, it was fun enough. It wasn't a great movie, but I thought it was fun enough. But now after seeing Zach's version, I think the other one is bad. Like it's just so bad now. Because I think they could have taken Zach's version and just made a shorter version of it, and it would have worked fine. They could have gotten the tone they were looking for and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I have a purely objective view because, like, you watched the DC shows, the animated
Yeah.
things, you've grown up with them. So you went into this movie, like you said, you were just happy to have a Justice League movie. For me, right, this was my first introduction to a lot of these characters. And I know the movie itself has to introduce Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg. But for me, I don't know. I do also want to hesitate from calling it bad, because like, as movies do, it served its purpose. It told
Mhm.
a beginning, middle, and end. And
Yeah.
it was a little bumpy, but like, I have seen worse movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I always thought it was fun. I never thought it was terrible.
Uh-huh. People
Um,
were calling it like the worst movie ever made. I don't think that's
no, I
true.
don't think it was even close.
I think it was a little tonally mishmashed.
You could definitely tell there was a lot of studio interference and a lot of the reshoots were very obvious.
Right.
The one that sticks out to me is the scene where Aquaman's talking to Bruce Wayne, and then like it's on location, and then it cuts to this really obvious green screen,
Oh, and like it close
and
up
his hair
into the
goes from
water.
being dry to wet, so it's like all clumped up and stuck to him. I was like, oh God, like
I was waiting for that in the movie to like see
that
when
was
they
a
did the
clip
clip.
that they showed on Jimmy Fallon, like when they went to promote it, or one of the late night shows. And I remember seeing it and like watching it and being like,
Uh-oh.
why would you go with that clip? Like you have a whole movie. Why would you go with that clip?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
Well, that brings up another kind of deeper topic, and we don't have to get into it now. But
Yeah.
do you think Warner Brothers, or like whoever's in charge of this, is eager to start over?
I
'Cause
think
like
that's what the
the way they're
Flash movie
promoting
is
it,
gonna be.
yeah, I know they're trying to like,
They're doing Flashpoint.
right, and that's gonna help them with the in-universe kind of like reset
Hmm.
things. But like, it it really feels like someone at that studio is trying to kill this franchise.
I don't know what is it's so weird to me. It does feel weird because I feel like we just got this big hype train of the Snyder cut, and already we have these people coming out and saying, "Well, it's done," and it's like it's not canon. It's done, and it's like, well, I don't like to use Rotten Tomatoes, but for this, it fits into my point, so I'm going to use it. If you
Right.
look at like the theatrical cut of Justice League, the critic and audience score are significantly lower than the one that just came out. This movie, people are really loving it. Like people are really loving it, especially audiences. Audiences are eating this movie up. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it was my company, I would really start to reevaluate things and think maybe we made a mistake by ditching Zack Snyder.
Hmm. Well, and like, to play devil's advocate just for a minute,
No, yeah,
like,
definitely.
Zack Snyder did not make this movie as a finale, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's 20 minutes of like where this could go at the end of this movie, and it kind of it's him on the one hand seeing if audiences would like go along with this. On
mhm.
the other hand, it seems like he's almost forcing his hand with the studio, being like, here's a potential sequel. If you want to make more money, call me.
Yeah, yeah,
And for them to just be like, well, that's it, that's done, then like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Because at
yeah.
the end of the day, Warner Brothers, like those two brothers who live in the water tower, they don't care about Superman or
They
DC.
live in the water tower.
They want money. They're only in this for the money. And if this is a profitable franchise, then they're going to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
So I think it really all depends on if they can make more money.
Mhm. Um, I think the Snyder route, they obviously I'm biased and I don't think the numbers are out yet, but if the numbers are good, and I think they're gonna be, I mean, they weren't gonna make this movie, and it was their most tweeted about movie. And one of the reasons Zack Snyder fought to get it was made, he literally went to the studio and said, "Look, this is your most tweeted about movie," and it's not out.
Yeah. I mean,
So I have to
The
assume
people
that the
want.
numbers on it are good.
Yes, I think so. Especially, right? This movie is for the fans. It's for
Yeah.
the people. So like making it 4 hours long is, I would never do that if I made a movie, but for him to do that, that's smart, right?
Yeah.
Because a diehard DC fan will sit down and watch all 4 hours.
Well, I kind of think because I've heard the argument that, well, this movie could have been shorter, and I disagree with that for one main reason, which is because if they had cut an hour and then people found out there was another hour of footage out there, you see what I'm saying? It would have
Yeah,
kept going and going.
yeah.
I think they kind of had no choice but to release everything they had. Um, which I think the movie, especially the second time, I really like the flow of it. I really like the flow of it. Um,
I will praise this movie's editing because
mhm,
I mean, I'm dipping my toe in the negative. I didn't think everything had to be slow motion,
mhm.
but the consistent style and flow, like you said, is like it's uninterrupted throughout the whole thing, and that's impressive.
I'm usually not a fan of movies that are split up into chapters, but I thought it really worked for this. I think it really worked, especially around the second time viewing. I was like, oh, I kind of see it
Well, this
works
is
really
a
good.
this is a funny story. I had heard it was 4 parts. What I didn't know is that that's not including like an intro and epilogue and like all that.
Yeah.
So I was watching this movie and then it said part 3 and I was like, all right, like it's almost done. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So
I
I
don't even think
paused it.
there's more. There's like 7 parts, I think.
I paused it and I was only an hour and 20 minutes in. And I was like, what? Like it's a marathon.
It's a machine for sure. But I was for the ride. Um,
What what okay, so obviously this will not be the last DC film they ever make, right?
yeah.
Like even if they don't do Zack Snyder verse, they're gonna keep making them. So what the question I want to ask you is, what do you think the studio should take from this movie to keep going with their plan?
With their plan, that man, that's a loaded question.
Because like sure, the
Because Zack
easy
Snyder and Jim Lee basically laid out an entire cinematic
yeah,
universe for them. They
yeah,
they
absolutely.
literally planned out, I think, 3 Justice League movies and spin-off movies and said, you don't have to listen to us, but like we have ideas and like this is kind of a path you can follow.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of were like, no, we want to again, I think their issue is you don't have fans, and I always don't like this argument because I don't think it's true for a lot of them, but when you don't have they don't have fans calling the shots basically. But if you
Sure.
have a fan, I'm gonna use Lucasfilm as an analogy. I personally don't think Kathleen Kennedy's a big like Star Wars fan. I don't think she knows the lore, but if someone like John Favreau, who's a big fan, comes to her office and says, hey, I have this idea, it's called The Mandalorian, I have XYZ planned out, we have these spin-offs planned out, we can like really do it. She's smart. And this is why she's a good producer, because she listened to him and she said, yeah, let's do it. And they let it happen. And right now I think that's their most valuable asset.
I would agree.
um I really want to see Zack Snyder. I think that the man is so talented. So I
Mm.
think what Warner needs to do is trust your directors, because we've had David Ayer come out and say there was studio interference. We've had Zack Snyder. We've had Kathy Ann come out and say there was interference with Birds of Prey. I don't know how much for that one, but I mean, that's the issue right there. You got to, if you're going to hire directors, you're hiring these people because they're creative. So let them be
Right.
creative.
Yeah,
Let
if
them
you
take
have
risks.
three prominent directors saying that this like the same complaint, then like there might be a problem.
Yeah.
Do you think
This
this
is,
is like a worldwide thing that nobody talks about? Like, do you think movie studios? I mean, the way I understood it is that there's always going to be like a debate between
yeah.
like,
They don't, I mean, they don't hide it. I don't really think they hide
yeah,
it.
I think,
And you can always tell with the final product.
yeah, that is very true. I don't know. I always understood it to be like the director wants ABC and then the studio's like, you can have A and B, but like we're not going to sign off on C, and then it ends up being like a compromise.
Yeah,
The way they're talking about this makes it seem like there's not a compromise. It's more like the studio just says what they have to do.
I think that really was the case with this one,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the reasons Zack Snyder said he left was because after everything that happened, he didn't have it in him to fight the studio,
Right.
because he had to fight them for Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel. And by the way, I have friends who didn't like Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman. I love and adore them, who love Justice League, and said, I kind of see what he was going for with the last two now, and kind of seeing how he was building the characters. And I think it wanted to please more people than those other two movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it did so, but without betraying and denying what came before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really thought that was really cool, because a lot of studios wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I think regardless on how you feel about DC or Zack Snyder for that matter, this is a filmmaker basically winning against
Yeah.
the studio, and I think that's good.
No, it is definitely good. It's definitely good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think streaming really played. There's no Zack Snyder Justice League without HBO Max, because there's no way they were releasing
The
a
pandemic
4-hour
had to happen. HBO
movie.
Max had to happen. The hashtag taking off
So
needed
like,
to happen.
this just makes me wonder, like, what is the future like? What is the future like now that this has happened? Because we got people calling to hashtag restore the Snyderverse now. I've tweeted it. We've got people saying, you know what, release Suicide Squad now. Like, what else could they do? Like, beyond Warner Brothers, like the film industry, like, just like, imagine if like we got like Solo. Ron Howard came in and it was the same situation as Justice League. They reshot it. So could we possibly in the future on Disney Plus see the Chris Lord and Phil Miller version of Solo? Like,
I think what this has proven.
We don't know anything.
That's very true.
That's what it's proven. We don't know anything.
But like, okay, this is like a personal tangent, but like, back in high school, I took a summer film club, and what happened is we all came up with like a general idea of like what we wanted the story to be. We like hired some actors, we filmed them in the woods, dicking around for an hour. And then what happened is that each member of this club got their own like rented laptop, and we edited the project ourselves. So we all got the same footage, but we each edited it differently. And then at the end of the club, we had like a film, like a production festival, and we all watched our different cuts. And
are you gonna hashtag release the Duncan cut?
Do not start that. But what that taught me is that, like, you can have the same footage and in different hands end up with wildly different outcomes.
Yeah.
So like with these movies, right? Like if they came out with like two different cuts of like fucking Black Widow, like I would probably pay to see both. If I didn't know anything about like either of the cuts, I would still pay to see both, because it's two different movies. I would want to see the differences between them.
Yeah.
So movies hypothetically could release a movie and then 3 years later be like, here's the same movie, but like done differently. And I think this has proven that like people would be willing to see that under the right circumstances.
Do you think they could pull something where, because they said the Joss cut was canon, do you think they could pull something where through Flashpoint, this is such a stretch. This is such a stretch. You know what I'm gonna say. Through Flashpoint, they could make the Snyder cut canon. So that way both movies are technically canon.
They could. I mean, they have.
Good. It'd be nuts.
If there's someone in universe who can like do that, then like obviously they have that potential.
Mhm.
But you would need like Henry Cavill and
I
Benedict.
think Flashpoint, you're going to see a lot of stuff come together. I think you're going to see really I think you're going to see some CW characters.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. I think, okay, can I just say selfishly as a CW fan, because I understand they don't have like a lot of money on the CW for costumes. I hope they bring these characters into the movie so that way they get movie budget costumes and then just bring them on to the CW show. I'm like, that's such a great way to do it though. If you think about it, that's such a great way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think if you have that sandbox of things, then like why wouldn't you push them together?
Yeah.
But like, did you hear that Avatar just beat Endgame again?
Yeah.
Because they re-released it in China for some reason. It's just going to be a pissing match between these two movies.
And in the end, it doesn't matter because Disney won.
Exactly. It's like they're both Zoe Saldana.
People, okay.
Cares.
People act offended by when that stuff happens. It's like I don't care.
Well, honestly, me neither. But the point is, like, if the Russo brothers do have a 6-hour cut of Endgame,
yeah,
like, what's stopping them from like going on Disney Plus and being like, yeah, for like $30 you can like watch 2 extra hours of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, I see that happening now because they have to beat Avatar again.
Yeah.
Because it's just always a competition. Whoever wins, we lose. It's Alien versus Predator.
I could see. I don't think they'd ever release the full 2 hours, but maybe an extra half hour. And then when Avatar beats them again, and they'll do another half hour. Oh my God. So they have 4. They have 4 lives.
Yeah, it's the worst. Part of me is worried that like, well, I mean, I don't want to be like a skeptic doomsday guy, but like, part of me is worried that like this is going to encourage films to withhold footage.
Oh, I never even thought about it like that. Like the whole DLC kind of thing with video games.
Yeah.
But with movies,
they can make you pay twice for the same thing, they'll do it.
Dude, that's crazy. I never even thought about how that could lead to this.
Because like this again, special circumstances for Justice League, right?
Yeah.
So many things had to.
Well, no, not really. Let's go back a movie. Let's go to Batman versus Superman. You had a theatrical cut, then on Blu-ray, and that's technically Zack Snyder's cut of Batman versus Superman.
Right.
And it's much better than the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And I remember this was actually a conversation when that happened. Like, our movie's going to become like video games. But now with this, I think, yeah.
You know, like if the third Spider-Man movie comes out and then they're like, oh, if you buy it on Blu-ray, you get to see this ending. If you buy it on Disney Plus, you get to see this ending. Like, you know, I worry that like the profits are going to mess with.
And it's going to cheapen the experience.
Right. Because you're sitting there in the theater and you're like, I'm going to have to pay for this thing 3 more times in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and like usually I like DLC for like video games and stuff because it's an additional experience. If you've liked the thing and you want more of it, pay for another extra chapter.
Yeah.
But for movies, I don't know. It's such a it feels much more malicious that the studio gave you something 1 year and then 2 years later they're like, we kept like, a special secret.
Yeah, I don't mind when they do it for like re-releases. Like, okay, we only had this movie available on Blu-ray. Now we're going to release the 4K. Actually, and it's Zack Snyder, so this works perfect. He just re-released, Warner Brothers just re-released Batman versus Superman on 4K now. And the sequences they shot in IMAX are the full frame like Justice League. But what I thought was neat about it, because I'm like, man, I would love to check that out. But what I thought was cool is because I have the movie, I have it on Blu-ray and it came with a digital copy. With my digital version, they automatically upgraded it for me for free.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, stuff like that, I don't mind. If you want to throw stuff out later and say, you know what, you already bought it, here you go. But if you don't own it, you can like buy it again. Go nuts and do that. Like, I don't mind stuff like that, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird business, and I think COVID's really gonna I think when we're out of this, it's going to be, it already is a completely different landscape. I mean, they just announced as we're recording this, Black Widow's coming to Disney Plus
Oh,
for $30. You have to do that $30.
of course.
Yeah. But like they said, we're never going to release. I know Kevin Feige must be very upset about that because he was very much wanted a theatrical release.
It's all about that movie's like an extra year old now. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're releasing it simultaneously. They're doing it in theaters and on Disney Plus with the.
Oh,
premiere
wonderful! You can
access.
get sick while watching Black Widow. What a
It's
wonderful
so good. It's like when I saw Creed, it was so good I had to be hospitalized.
You weren't hospitalized. You had a tick.
I had to get surgery, Duncan, and you laughed at me. You mocked me.
It's barely surgery.
They pulled out a scalpel and they made an incision. That's all I know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll see. At the end of the day, Justice League coming out this way is good. It's a triumph,
Yeah.
like you said. Yeah, I think general audiences can enjoy it. I know Zack Snyder DC fans will love it.
Yeah.
And the criticisms you do see online, I think some of them have like validity in the sense of like not everything's perfect.
Yeah.
But you know, this is a good thing.
Yeah. How would you feel if Warner Brothers decides not to go down the Snyder path? Because we ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
How do you think it would
ended on
ever
a
be
couple
possible
cliffhangers.
that they finish off his Justice League trilogy, either maybe release it as a comic book or they do it as animated movies?
I think that would be a lot cheaper
Yeah.
for them.
I could see animated movies. I really could see animated movies doing really good. Especially you make that an HBO Max exclusive.
Absolutely. Try to maximize your
I'm
profit.
canceling HBO Max after because I've seen the Snyder Cut. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. They want me to keep paying, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. I don't care what form it's in, just release it.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to do like an Injustice thing, right? With like,
yeah.
I mean, haven't you seen Injustice and played Injustice and watched Injustice?
That's true. So I feel like if it wasn't live action, it would kind of just.
I mean, that's the appeal to me would be seeing these characters go through that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's tricky, right? Because if they're not going to do that, but they are going to make Aquaman 2, Wonder Woman 3, and like continue those characters, how are they going to reference this? Are they going to be like, Batman sends his regards, but he's too busy to come to the phone right now, and like never reference him?
Well, they're gonna reference the Joss cut,
right? Unless Flashpoint changes that. I think Flashpoint's really going to be make it or break it, as far as like how they can.
I think Warner Brothers has more than they realize writing on Flashpoint.
Did they write Cyborg out of Flashpoint? Is that what I heard?
It's a whole that has to do with the Ray Fisher controversy. Yeah.
Has this not affected that in any way?
So basically what happened is he's upset with the head of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And basically said, I want nothing, like, unless he gets rid of the people that basically made Justice League a bad environment. And from what we know, there was a lot of actors on that set that complained and nothing really came of it. So he says, I'm not going to work with under Warner Brothers unless you guys want to do anything about it. And they've chosen not to do anything about it. So he's out, yeah, which stinks because I really loved his character, and I think I think they stabbed themselves in the foot by releasing this because everyone's talking about how much they love Cyborg now.
Yeah, I was really hoping because like I'm not super caught up with all of this, but I was hoping that like, you know, since he did a good job in this movie, maybe that would make them rethink it. But like if they fought,
maybe you should do a video about it on your Kunkin Dassner channel.
I don't know what it would do. I mean,
I think it would actually do really good on your channel. I'm not even kidding. I think it
I
would, the
can try to
Snyder
watch
fans, they come and they come strong, man.
Well, if I catch them on a right day.
You should do it. I'd be your number one supporter on that video.
I'll think about it. But yeah, is that everything we had to say about just
But I guess that's all I don't really have much more to say. I thought the what? You cut
Oh,
out. I have no idea what you said.
sorry, I was gonna say, is that all? Is there anything more that we want
I
to
mean, that's all I really have to say on it for now. I thought this was a good conversation though. I
Me
think
too. We covered a lot.
I'm excited to revisit this podcast episode in the future and see if it's aged well.
After Justice League 5 and 6, this will be a very funny.
We can only hope.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed it, slap that like button, tickle to subscribe.
Oh.
Finesse the bell notification.
Finesse the bell. Oh my god, that's a new one.
I'm gonna up my vocabulary for this.
Yeah, not bad.
Sweetly caress the comment section.
All right.
And
I'm cutting this off. Thank
okay.
you for listening, everyone. And don't forget, #thank you, Snyder released the cut.
Nailed it.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.